Welcome, everyone, to Ask the Expert. I'm Ross Brand, and tonight's show is brought to you by Livestream Universe, livestreamuniverse.com. And I'm so excited that Andy Crestodina is joining us for a discussion of content marketing. Andy is the author of Content Chemistry. Let me see if I can capture the book a little bit here in the camera. This way, that way, up, down, not sure exactly. But Content Chemistry, it's an illustrated handbook for content marketing. I keep it with me almost all the time for reference. It's got both a lecture and a more practical section, and Andy really covers content marketing, both with a real depth of subject matter expertise, but also in a broad scope, so that no matter what area you're involved in, you can find something there for you that you can refer to. Andy's also the creative director at orbitmedia.com, an award-winning web design company. And do you also do like social media consulting at Orbit, or is it strictly web design?
Just recently, we started doing some more consulting with clients. It's mostly like analytics and SEO consulting, a little content strategy consulting. And it's almost all for current clients, like web design clients. But there are a few that we pick up and we just get passionate about the brand and they need a lot of help, and we see a lot of low-hanging fruit. So we do have some of those kind of strategic sort of engagements. Great.
So let's start big picture, okay? One question sometimes people have is, how is content marketing different from marketing or web marketing or online marketing or digital marketing? How do you define content marketing as its own space?
The simplest way for me to describe it, or the way that I think of it, content marketing is the distinction between owned and earned versus paid. There's two kinds of marketing: content marketing and advertising. Advertising is paid. It's done with content marketing is about help, and advertising is about hype. Content marketing is about using your brains. Advertising is about using your budget, right? Guy Kawasaki has a quote. He says, if you have more brains than budget, do inbound. If you have more budget than brains, do outbound. That's the idea. That's the difference. Content marketing is about the magnet attracting people to us, like inbound. Advertising is about the hammer, pushing our message out. That's outbound.
Now, not to get too semantic or whatever about it, but let's say you write a blog post, right? You share that post on Facebook. That post does okay. Now you pay a few dollars to boost it, and so more people see it. Is that still content marketing, or you're getting into advertising once you're paying to be seen?
Maybe there is some gray area, but technically that's advertising. You're paying. Right? You're not trying to win that visitor. That boost, right? That's an advertising model. So I guess, you could see, and there's a comment there, and I kind of get it, but fundamentally, another way to think about it is content marketing is about three main channels: search, organic search, social media, and email. As soon as you're boosting a post, that's paid social. That'd be advertising.
Right. And when you're talking search, you're talking about people finding your content most helpfully to you in terms of conversions would be if they're finding it at your website, right?
Yep. Where there's traffic, there's hope.
Right.
Our goal as content marketers is to draw that visitor in. There's two numbers that really matter: the total number of visitors, traffic, and the percentage of visitors who take action, conversion rate. Traffic times the conversion rate equals success, equals leads, equals sales, equals donors, equals event registrants, equals job applicants. So everything that we do in marketing should be totally focused on affecting one of those two goals, one of those two numbers: traffic or the conversion rate. And so, yeah, I mean, if someone's on Facebook, you don't really convert. There are certain ways, but generally, we convert people when they're on our own site. So our goal is to get people there.
And is the way you do that through list building, unless you have, obviously, an online marketplace on your website? Your way of doing that is through list building and then email marketing to those folks. Is that how you see, if you're starting kind of with the end in mind, right? After they've read your content, they've become aware of you, they've become interested in you, they've become a fan, they're visiting your website now, and now they want to sign up for your not really for your email list, because nobody really wants to sign up for a newsletter, right? They're signing up for some type of lead magnet. Is that kind of the just trying to walk through the strategy, right? And then you capture their email, and now they're no longer just another follower on Facebook or Twitter. Now you have a way to market to them directly.
It can be a lead magnet. I personally don't use any lead magnets. There's nothing on my website where you have to subscribe to no gated content. But here's an example. So I'm writing an article about, in search, our goal is to make the best page on the internet for the topic. So as an example, I wrote an article not long ago about web design for footers, footer web design. And I tried to make the best page on the internet for the topic of website footer design. And I very carefully optimized it to rank for the phrase website footer design. I didn't spend money on this, but I spent 10 hours researching and making this the best answer on the internet for all the questions related to website footer design. Now, the visitors to that page, and right now there's like 50 people every day that come to that page looking for this topic, a percentage of those people do sign up for the newsletter. There's no cost, there's no hook, right? It's just telling people that I write an article like this every 2 weeks. So we get between 5 and 10 people per day that sign up for the newsletter. Altogether, we have like almost 12,000 people. We've never paid for the list. We've never sold these subscribers. We've never sent them a promotional email. All we do is try to help. All I do is try to help. So I'm just trying to give away my best information all the time. And in that way, we have attracted ridiculous traffic. 60,000 visitors per month without a single dollar in spent, out of pocket paid advertising. But and as such, we have high organic rankings for not just the website footer design type helpful question related phrases, but also the buyer related keyword. Two kinds of keywords on the internet. The buyer related keywords are things like Chicago web design, e-commerce, mobile web design, and that's how we generate so many leads. So 60,000 visitors per month, around 1,000 leads per year. Without any advertising spend, we generate something like we're a 36 person firm with about 5 million in revenue, and no advertising. We're strictly a content marketing platform.
Fantastic. And one of the things that you do really well, and you alluded to it here, was that you really optimize around keywords. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that, and how not only you selected the keywords that you used, but then how you integrate them into your content so that they can be most effective?
So Google is a semantic search engine. It's not really about the phrase as much as it used to be. And I did SEO 16 years ago when it was really just about trying to trick a robot, which was lame. We just felt like a spammer. Like, it was terrible. SEO was such a sketchy thing back then, and it's way better now because the search engines are smarter, and we really just try to be helpful. Our goal is to make the best page on the internet, as I mentioned. So the website footer design topic. I start researching phrases, and I use the Google Keyword Planner, and I can tell there's some people searching. It said, I think, 60 people a month are searching for website footer design. Not very many. Website footer best practices. We might get a trickle of traffic from that. But I go deeper. So when you search for website footer design in Google, you can scroll down to the bottom, and it says people also searched for website footer examples. I put that word on my list. Website footer copyright. I put that on my list. Website footer sitemap. I put that on my list. I'm looking for evidence of that there are any related phrases to my topic. And when my article started out as like, I'm going to write 18 things you can put in your website footer, I'm getting more and more ideas, and my article is going to get better and better. It actually improves the quality of my article, which is the most important thing. I also go and look at Google search suggestions. If you type in website footer and then put an A, it's going to suggest some phrases. Put a B, it suggests other phrases. It suggests these as if you might want to search for them. But I'm looking for clues that these are semantically linked phrases, because I'm trying to spread out my meaning across the broader topic. Now, here's a tool and a trick. If you go to keywordtool.io and put in a phrase, it will show you all the things that Google would suggest as if you typed in the next letter of the alphabet. Killer tactic, right? Because now I've got a giant list of like 15 or 20 different words I want to use in my article that are semantically linked. I have found evidence. These words are semantically linked to my topic. So I am just and as I write the article, I just cross them off the list. I end up with an article that's much more detailed than I had expected to write. Now it's like 27 things you want to include in your website footer. And I have also targeted the topic, not just the key phrase.
So you don't worry about, as some people do, keep it short, because if it takes a while to read the article, nobody will read it, or things like that. Your goal with the article is to drive up search. So a longer, more substantive article with more keywords is going to elevate your search around that topic.
Well, as a clue,
right?
The average ranking page in Google is 1,500 to 2,000 words long. There's no point in trying to write a short article if you're thinking about making the best page on the internet. I'm not worried that my audience will read the article. I mean, that came out wrong, but basically, I'm trying to drive traffic to this article, but I'm going to do it by making it the best article about website footer design. I can't do that in 1,000 words. I need 2,000 words to do that. Now, I'm very careful to make sure my audience engages with my content. So I try really hard to use short words. I write short sentences. I write short paragraphs, but I do not write short articles. I write scannable content that is very detailed and thorough. People do not like long paragraphs. I bet you can get better engagement on a 5,000 word article with very short scannable paragraphs, subheaders, bullets, and bolding than you could on a 500 word article with super blocky, tall walls of text. So make your content scannable, but don't bother to try to make it short. Make it the best.
Yeah. And every paragraph should be 1 to 2 sentences, basically, if it's not bullet points or bolds. Right?
My rule for sentences, for paragraphs, is not a number of sentences. It's the number of lines. I never write a paragraph longer than 3, maybe 4 lines at most. It might be 1 sentence, but
now those lines will vary, though, if you're looking at it on a 27-inch widescreen monitor versus a cell phone, right? You have a 1 sentence on a cell phone, and all of a sudden it takes up, if it's a decent written, decent length sentence, it'll take up 7 lines.
So there's research on this. The content that's easiest to read, the line length is 8 words long. When line length goes longer than 8 words, visitors tend to lose their place. So what I would say is on desktop, which is 60% of my readers. On desktop, my blog is a fixed width of 600 pixels. And that's where I make sure that the paragraph length is 3, maybe 4 lines at most.
So now you said about 1,500 to 2,000 words is what the top pages tend to contain, right? Is there a minimum that you want to hit? For example, a lot of people who are on this on this blab right now do live streaming, right? And at the end, they have some content, whether it's embedding a blab, whether it's uploading to YouTube, and then embedding on their page using a plugin to draw it over to their website, and they write some type of blog post around it. That blog post could be as simple as who's on it and what the topic is, and it could be as extensive as, a transcription. I'm assuming most people don't have the time or want to spend the money to get it transcribed. How many words to make that blog post likely to be found, since it's predominantly video? How many words should we be writing?
Well, it's not my first thought. I don't write with a target length in mind. I write with a topic in mind. For example, we had one that went live this morning. It's like, what to do if you ever get press. Let's say you get mentioned in the media. You got press. What do you do? My article, I kept adding to it. I thought about it for almost a year. I had this list where I'm thinking more about it, and I'm trying to make it a really the best piece of. This isn't even optimized for search, but I'm trying to focus on making it really high quality. By the time I was done, I'm looking at it now, 2,400 words long. Totally scannable. It's a list post. It's 21 things to do if you get press. But it's true. The average high-ranking page is like 1,500 to 2,000 words. Google loves Wikipedia. In certain data sets and experiments, Wikipedia ranks more than any other site. But it's what I would focus on. If you understand Google, then you really know that it's a research tool, and that it needs text to understand what pages are about, and they'll get more evidence if you make If you make it something that has, if it's longer, that's just a more opportunity to cover the topic more exhaustively, which is what Google's trying to do. Find the best page, find the most relevant page on the internet for whatever that person just searched for.
So when people say things like, oh, it has to be 300 words, or it has to be 450, or it has to be 500 words to show up for Google to index it, or there's no science.
It's not true
that,
because,
right?
I mean, there's certain phrase. I mean, it depends on the phrase. So let's say I'm trying to rank for some super obscure phrase, like I wrote an article years ago. It was a poem about SEO. I'm that big of a dork. And it ranks number 1 for web marketing poetry. But guess what? It's probably the only place on the internet that has that combination of words, web marketing poetry. I probably could have written 100 words that had that combination of words and letters together, and it would have ranked just fine. It's probably it's not a haiku, but it's not a long poem.
Rachel Moore says she did a sonnet
That's
to social
awesome.
media.
We should collect that. Why don't we make a list? Rachel, share that with us. I want to see it. I definitely want to link with that. Yeah, iambic pentameter. Well done. I know what you mean. I'm a poetry dork too. So I notice meter and poetic meter all the time. It's in music a lot, but no, I think it's it depends on the competition. If you're trying to rank for ambidextrous armadillo, you can make the only page on the internet with those 2 words together. Length isn't the big factor. It's relevance.
You only have to hope that somebody's searching
and no one's searching for web marketing poetry.
Right. So and anybody's welcome to jump in with a question or enter a question in the chat box for Andy. We'll cover whatever related to this topic that you want to talk about. For people who do blabs and other live stream shows, and a lot of the content is obviously a bio of the guest, maybe a bio of the host, what have you. Is it okay to just use a bio that's already sort of being cycled? Or, I mean, when I do like the blog posts on my shows, for most of the time, I take what's out there and write an original bio. Obviously, it's not really original. It's got all the same things, but just so it doesn't read like duplicate content. And I'm starting to think that's a real waste of time. And I go to somebody's bio and I copy and paste it on the last few weeks because I'm getting tired of spending an hour or 2 writing somebody's bio that's, I can just take off their LinkedIn or their website. So that's not, things like that aren't going to get me a duplicate content penalty or something. Cause I'm like I live in terror of that. Like, I will give
you, I'm going to say something that is very contrarian and that people may disagree with, but I challenge anyone to actually show me an example of a real life duplicate content penalty. There is no such thing, Ross. Nothing bad's going to happen.
Okay.
There are people who copy. So the Chicago Tribune asked me if they can copy my articles and put them on their website. Sure, absolutely. I would love for you to do that. The American Marketing Association asked me if they can copy and paste my articles into their website. I am thrilled that they do that. I'm fearless. Why? Google has always understood duplicate content. If you look at Google Trends, in 2006, there's this big spike when everyone starts talking about duplicate content. I don't know what happened when everyone started to pay attention to this and become afraid of this. Show me an example. So here's an example of when it becomes a problem. The Tribune starts to repost my articles. Fine, no problem. They choose some things from a few months ago, take them. They choose some things from a few weeks ago, next, take them. Then they started reposting my articles the same day I posted them. Okay. It's a problem.
That's a problem, right? Because the search engine is combing the same stuff.
It doesn't know which is the original.
Time, right?
The risk is not a penalty.
Right.
Duplicate content doesn't somehow give you some general degrading of rank across your whole website. I don't know what people are truly afraid of. If you ask them, they can't really quite articulate it. But what happened there is there was a confusion in Google of which is the original. And the Tribune, of course, is a super high authority website. So Google thought that was the original. So I got upset. Right? I called them and I'm like, please don't copy my stuff the same day. Let's let Google figure out what the original was. And when you post it there, just please link back saying the original post was here. Now, that article, if you search for it, Online Networking Guide, search for Online Networking Guide. My article ranks number 1 and they rank number 2. The exact same article. So who is penalized? The risk is duplicate content confusion, not a penalty.
Is it necessary to use the canonical tag, or can you can just put in this article first appeared at orbitmedia.com or something of that,
I asked the
nature,
Tribune to put in the canonical tag, and they said, "We're sorry, we can't do this. Our weird custom CMS won't let us." I said, "No problem. Just please link back to the article." So at the top of the article, it says the original's over there. That doesn't. Yeah, it's fine.
No, go ahead. So now, like another thing I do is I have two different websites where I post, and I know we've talked off the air that I really shouldn't be dividing up my attention between two websites, right? Because I'm weakening the domain authority if half the people are going to one and half are going to the other, right?
Well, right.
But for the sake of discussing duplicate content, I use a plugin that basically will pull this blab into my blog, right? And will pull all the comments as well as blog comments. But I only use that on one of the websites. On the other one, I use a YouTube embed. And I don't pull the comments, even though I have the right to do it on more than one website, whatever, I have the license for that. Is that smart or not smart? Like if Google found that I had the exact same comments on two websites, and there were a lot of not like there were two comments, but you pulled whatever, there were 100 comments, 600 comments at the end of a show, and there were the exact same 100 to 600 comments on two different blogs. Would Google catch on and say somebody's gaming the system here?
No, nothing bad is going to happen. If those articles were both optimized to rank for a phrase, then Google would have to decide which one to rank. But those articles probably aren't even optimized to rank for a target key phrase anyway.
No, one I don't really even write anything on, and then the other one I write, and I do different headlines. Different headlines a good idea, or don't even worry about that?
It's not going to hurt you for both of them to have the same headline. Here's another example. So LinkedIn's a publishing platform. I take old articles I wrote and copy and paste them into LinkedIn. Same headline, same everything. Why not? Costs nothing. Gets you better exposure. Medium is the same thing. You can copy and paste stuff right into Medium.
Right. And Catherine has you on notice. If something bad happens, like a collapse of the universe.
I'll give you an example of.
But it probably won't be a duplicate content.
Right.
Penalty.
Antimatter and matter collide, and like the black hole opens, and like Google destroyed the universe. Here is a real life example of it. I said there wasn't such a thing, but actually here is an example of one that's close. A client's website was live. It's a weird pharmaceutical brand, and we built this website, and the company hired a PR firm. And the very day that the website went live, the PR firm, very lazy people, copied and pasted the homepage text into a press release and put the press release on PR Newswire. So at the very same moment that this text appeared on their homepage, it also appeared in 1,000 other places. The number was very high because it was syndicated press release, and it was on their homepage the first day the website went live. It looked like spam, and a human at Google manually blacklisted the domain. The client blamed us, even though we hadn't done anything wrong, and we had to go through this long process of filing what's called a reconsideration request. So it is possible to be blacklisted and de-indexed from Google in very extreme circumstances. But that's not what anyone's talking about when they ask me about duplicate content. They're worried about like author bios, like you said, or copying and pasting a paragraph. There is nothing.
Or even a whole article is fine, as long as you indicate which was the first one, and you don't need a canonical tag.
It'll be fine.
Just to highlight this, because if I have this question, I'm sure a lot of other people do. As Rachel says, interesting. So you don't think we need to rework or repurpose a website blog into a LinkedIn post? That'll save
it will save time. But Rachel asks a great question for this reason. LinkedIn is not necessarily the same target audience. We're talking about content here, so we're talking about connecting with readers. LinkedIn is a general business audience, and if your content was for a niche, chiropractor, financial advisors, whatever the thing was, it may not work on LinkedIn. It's always worth the time to make sure that it's the audience and the angle are a fit. If not, it's not going to succeed there, and you'll see low shares and low reads and low results. So, considering that LinkedIn is a general business audience, it may make perfect sense. But if your content, it works for that audience, then just copy and paste. It's very easy. Actually, LinkedIn's really smart about it. If you copy and paste like from WordPress or someplace, it will copy and paste the images too. Like I've done it before where it's like really beautiful how easy it is.
Do you copy and paste off of the page, or do you copy and paste like off the HTML?
I think I copied and pasted off the page, and it worked pretty well.
Wow.
You could. It might have been the browser, might have been that day, or I don't know. Who knows? We're in Blab, so we've all got our fingers crossed with technology.
So, you feel that posting also to Medium, if you think it works for Medium, putting your stuff on Medium is another way to get found. Putting your stuff on LinkedIn Publisher is another way to get found and increase the likelihood that somebody goes to your website from there. Now, some people I've noticed do where they put like the first few paragraphs, so they write a summary, and then they say, to learn more about this, visit my website, or, to read the rest of this article, click here to visit my website. What do you think about that tactic?
It's as we said, where there's traffic, there's hope. So it's smart. It's smart to do things to guide people to the website. The effectiveness depends on how juicy the beginning was and how smart, the teaser.
Right. If there's no desire to read anymore, then
the call to action was. I'm not. Again, I'm like my philosophy as a content marketer is to be extremely helpful and generous and just give away more than everyone else. So I've never done that, but I could see why people would do that. As a reader, if I'm on Medium and I see that there's a note that says this article was originally posted somewhere else, I'll take the time to go to the original before sharing it, because I want the actual author to get as much credit for the article as possible.
Wow, that's great. What, if you don't mind me asking, what is your most popular blog post that you've ever?
No one asked that. It's silly because it's not that close to my content mission statement, my strategy. But I wrote an article that ranks #1 for how to market an event. That gets read like 6,000 times a month.
Like every time somebody has an event and it has the question about how to market an event. It ranks
#1. It's 50 tips for event marketing. And it's the most popular page on my website month after month after month. It's a huge traffic magnet, which brings up an interesting question. I mean, most websites have one or two of these. Like one weird post that just gets tons of traffic. It's very common. Go look at your analytics. You'll see pages that are like, what? Like, why is that one so popular? So I might write an article one day about how to try to get more value from historical posts.
So if anybody wants to jump in with a question for Andy, or just if you don't want to jump on camera, you can enter it in the chat box. Andy Crestodina is the creative director at orbitmedia.com and the author of Content Chemistry. And one of the things I love about the book is you go through so many different ways to look at the effectiveness of your content, to measure the effectiveness of keywords, all different types of things. And you make the point, right? If you're not measuring, you're not doing content marketing. Can you give people who are just starting to look into measuring, or maybe aren't selecting the right things, a few things that everyone should be doing? Like, what's the least you need to know about measuring your content?
So the two numbers that matter are traffic and the conversion rates. And everything performs well or performs badly against those two numbers. Some things are great at driving traffic, like that one weird post that you have that ranks for that random phrase. Some things are great at converting. Other content might be very inspiring. Very few visitors ever see it, but 5% of people who do subscribe. It happens a lot. So the question becomes, is this working well at traffic, or is this working well at conversions? And you can ask that about a specific article. You can ask that about a specific social media channel. You can ask that about an email campaign. You can ask that about a key phrase. You can ask that about a time of day if you're sending newsletters. So everything really needs to be judged on that basis. So some things are, my friend Barry Feldman says, if your website is the content, if your website is the mousetrap, your content is the cheese. So marketers make cheese and web designers create mousetraps.
Is it Google Analytics that you recommend using to see where that traffic is coming from?
So I'll give you some shortcuts just briefly here, and you're recording this, so you'll be able to share this easily or put this in show notes. And I could share articles that explain all of this. So if you go into Analytics and under Acquisition, there's a section called All Traffic. Under All Traffic, there's a section called Channels. Now you're looking at a report for channels. If you click on the social row in that report, it shows you all of your social media channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Google, whatever it might be. Scroll over to the right and you can see the conversion rate from visitor into whatever goal you'd like to set. So for example, what percentage of visitors to our website from Facebook subscribe to the newsletter? 0.5%. What percentage of visitors from LinkedIn subscribe to the newsletter? 1.25%. Wow, totally different. As soon as you know this, you have a good sense for, an hour spent on Facebook is worth, half as much as an hour spent in LinkedIn. So you can quickly prioritize your time and decide what channels to focus on, to decide what type of content to focus on, to decide, is how good are we at email? Is that working? Should I be publishing more on this topic or that topic? It's all, every idea you have, you should turn it into a question and then use analytics to find an answer that will support or reject the idea. That's the trick to marketing.
When you see, in general, and I know every single case is going to be different, right? In general, are you seeing that people, maybe clients you work with, whatever, are spending too much time in one area and not enough time in another area? For instance, are they spending too much time on certain social platforms, not enough time with email, or too much time with email, not enough, producing content that can be found via search, whatever? Like, where do you think things are out of balance in general perception of what people should be doing?
That's the second time you've asked me a question that why doesn't everyone ask that? It's such a great question. The answer is, and I'm not the first to say this, marketers are spending too much time creating content and not enough time promoting content.
Oh, I'm guilty of that, 100%.
I'm not so sure. You did a champion job of getting the word out for our conversation here. I mean, this is you look to be the case study of someone who's doing it very well. Ross, I love how you've done that. So, hats off. It's really, you're doing a great job of promoting content, which is what not everyone does. So,
but I need to be promoting it after the show as well, and usually I'll share it on blog. I'll share it to social. And then, I've got all these shows now sitting there, and that's all easy content to distribute, and I'm not distributing it. So I feel I need to be doing more of that. Not to the extent that you're seeing it, every other minute in your Twitter feed, but certainly there's plenty of hours I could be sharing past shows that would drive traffic.
So as a general rule, they say, you should spend at least twice as much time promoting as creating. Here's a blab trick that I've used. This works for lots of channels. So I record this podcast with Barry Feldman here in Blab. It's called Content Matters. We do it every 2 weeks. In Blab, while we're talking, Amanda, my marketing manager, is making a note of all the people that are interacting with us. When that goes live, we share it with those people in Twitter. When we post the podcast later. So what we have to do is look for opportunities while we create content to build lists or make notes of who we're collaborating with, who's listening now. If someone shares something that we created on Twitter, we go to LinkedIn and thank them for sharing it. When they see it in LinkedIn, they share it again. So, you cross the streams, look for opportunities, pay attention to who's interacting with you here, and then look for ways to invite them to interact somewhere else. Another way to think of it is this. When you post a piece of content, how many people are waiting for that to go live? It better not be zero, right? It better not be zero. Somebody has to, it should be waiting and ready and excited that content is going to go live. Why? Because you invited them into the comments already. You included them as a contributor quote. You're going to post this somewhere someday, and I'm going to share it. Why wouldn't I? Obviously.
Right.
So
And Catherine asks, how do you promote that much without
Good question.
spamming?
Here's the idea behind that. So when you send someone an email, they have to take an action on it. You're forcing them to decide, ignore it, read it, delete it, do something with it. But I'm talking about mentions in social streams. People wake up in the morning hoping to be mentioned. People want to be mentioned. So mentioning someone in social media, I've never had anyone complain, "Oh, why did you mention me? Stop mentioning me." People like to be mentioned. So I'm just suggesting that if Ross, you and I collaborated on a piece of content, and Catherine shared it in LinkedIn, and we went to Twitter and said, "Hey, here's the post. P.S. Thanks for sharing it, Catherine." She probably would favorite it. She might retweet it. She might be great, but it'd be weird if she said, "Please don't mention me in your social media streams," because it's a stream. It's a fast moving stream. So I don't think that's spam at all.
Right. A lot of people are spending a lot of time on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not finding. I mean, I have about 9,000 followers on my personal Twitter account, right? And if I tag people in something like, I'm doing a show with Andy later, please join us. People will like and often retweet and share and things like that. And I'm obviously picking out people who, I'm already connected with. But if I just share a blog post, right, like something from my HR site that, a colleague wrote or something, and I just share that, right? I mean, if I get 3 retweets on it and 1 site visit, it's like, that's the hot share.
I know what you mean, yeah,
or whatever for blog content, and I'm wondering, the amount of time it takes to maintain, an active Twitter account and the return on it. I'm not sure if I'm spending too much time on Twitter, or if I'm using it most effectively. And I'm sure other people have those questions too, because people are asking me a lot.
Yeah.
Is Twitter worth it? Is it worth it? Why should I be on Twitter when, there's so much content, there's so much noise? I mean, I could have 5 people in a blab and get build more of a relationship with them than tweeting to 100,000 people. I can guarantee that.
Okay, I've got 2 tips for you. They're both about efficiency.
Okay.
The first is about targeted sharing. So let's say you and I, this blab is about content marketing. Let's say we were going to produce some really specific content on the topic of keyword research for journalists, something like that, or SEO for PR people, or something specific that relates to 2 topics. If we go to search Twitter, we use a tool like Follower Wonk to find people who have both PR and SEO in their bios. Pick out 3 or 4 of those people, because there'll be 50 of them. In 2 seconds, you'll see 50 of them. Put in 2 phrases to Follower Wonk, and you'll find people who are in that Venn diagram overlap, who will be extremely interested in the topic. Those people are much more likely to share, much more likely to engage. I once wrote an article that was like a content marketing article with a zombie theme. And I said, I wonder who has content marketing and zombie in their bio. 55 people, like some huge number. So I mentioned them when I share, and they loved it. They were in the comments. They were talking about it. They all shared it. It's like I wrote the article for them. I just didn't know it at the time. So that's one tip, is to share with the super specific people who are interested in exactly that article, because they overlap with the 2 topics, or they overlap with the topic and theme. The other idea that I have for you is, it seems like a waste of time to do all this on Twitter. It's a waste of time if it takes a lot of time, but if it takes very little time, it's quite efficient. So the content promotion piece in Twitter is something that can definitely be automated. Some of your readers might call me out as a spammer, but I totally recommend this tactic. The self-promotional tweets are one of 3 kinds of tweets. The Twitter rule of thirds. We share our own stuff, we share stuff from other people, and we talk to people. Conversation. Creation, curation, and conversation. The first one is stuff you made that you're promoting, driving traffic to your site. Second one is I'm going to share Ross stuff because he's an influencer I want to collaborate with. The third one is me just talking to people, answering questions, asking questions. Hello, that stuff. Thank you. That first third can be automated and should be automated. Costs you $50 a month, but put it into Meet Edgar. And you can share, and I share 4 or 5 times a day on Twitter and once a day on LinkedIn with 0 effort. I don't spend any time on it at all. I'm telling you, it's very, and that is super valuable. So the trick is to know what to share and how often. I have a way, I use analytics to find the things that are most worth sharing. Here, I'm going to put in the link. That is my tactic for finding the content that is highest converting, that gets shared the most, and that gets clicked the most. So that's analytics and Hootsuite, and there's ways to get these numbers. Those are the ones that you put into heavy rotation in social media and set up the tool so that it shares these things, 3, 4, 5 times a day, grabs from that bucket. It doesn't share the same thing over and over, but it just keeps, it's like buffer, but it never runs out. It just keeps them in rotation.
Right.
And I get ridiculous. I get many times more social traffic than I did before, spending far less time.
And that's through the tool and once you put them in one time, then it figures out when to run them. You don't have to sit there and rebuffer them like you do with.
You don't have to rebuffer them, but you do have to tell it when to grab from that bucket. So I have this bucket called super high value articles, and I tell it when to do that. And I don't recommend doing it on the hour. Do it at like 10:02, because a lot of people schedule stuff to go at 10 o'clock, right? Do it at 9:58 or 10:02. Right. So that you're not in that mix of like super competitive stuff. So they call it Jay Baer's trick. It's called micro opportunities. So it's just it saves me 8 hours a month, and I get way more results than I used to. It frees up my time to do more of the interactive stuff, sharing stuff from people like you, or interacting with people. So that self-promotional stuff, I used to get up in the morning and try to buffer my old stuff. I never do that anymore.
So you find that what you do is when you search for people who intersect, their interests intersect where your topic that you're going to be sharing on Twitter is, let's say, you either include them in your blog post and then you can mention them in a tweet, or you just mention them in the tweet, like you find a reason to mention them, or you tag them in the photo, or how do you go about making that connection?
So you just talked about a higher value way to do it. The way I was suggesting, here's the post that explains that. It's just finding those people and mentioning them in a tweet. Pretty simple.
Okay.
But your suggestion is something that I've been much more interested in lately, which is very collaborative content. Here's the 4 ways to collaborate with other people on content. Ross said something smart. I'm going to grab that and put it in my article as a quote, and then let him know that I took something from, that I quoted him. A better way is I'm writing something on live streaming. I'm going to ask Ross for a quote, and he contributed. He wrote something specifically for this article.
Right.
Now he's waiting for it to go live. The next way is to find 5 people who are interested in live streaming and send each of them 5 questions. They all send back 5 answers. Copy, paste, copy, paste. I've got 5 perspectives on 5 different questions, also known as the roundup.
And then you've got 5 people who are eager to share it because it's about them.
And then the final way is what we're doing right now. It's basically choosing one person who is, super relevant to one topic and just going in a deep dive interview. Those are the 4 main ways to collaborate with people on content. The idea goes to this. If content optimized for search includes keywords, content optimized for social includes people. Put people into your content. Put people everywhere in your content. Never post an article without a quote from somebody, right? If you look at my blog, I've got, it's way more fun. You make friends. An ally in creation is an ally in promotion.
Right. Wow, that's a great quote. You might find that on my blog.
Please use it.
Yeah. So when you do tag people in an article, you just tag them figuring they're going to find that article interest then, or what is your sort of, because sometimes people tag me in something and I don't know why. Like, why did you tag me in that? What do I have to do? Somebody will tag me on something, they'll put their tweet together and then they'll tag 3 people. And I'm sort of like, well, I don't work in healthcare. What did you tag me on that?
And they didn't get your click, did they?
No, but I guess if they tagged me on something to do with live streaming, then I might be thankful for it because I probably want to read that article or know what that news is.
Context, it's relevance. So you've got to see the headline has to catch you, and it should immediately catch you if they tagged you. I mean, those people are shooting. It's like shooting without aiming. That's just blind. That's a waste of time.
Right, right. Talk briefly about your strategy for headlines, because I love the way you do headline writing, with the keywords, the colon, and
Yeah.
then what the the thing that gets you to read it. Right, like it's a beautiful strategy.
So
Explain it to
as
people.
you know, people who've been listening can tell, I'm always trying to combine search and social. I'm not creating any content with a plan to promote it. So everything that I create, I've got some idea for how I'm going to get traffic to it, or else I wouldn't create it probably, right? Like that's just a total waste of time. So content that is optimized for search includes keywords. And there's some benefit to putting keywords early in headlines, because that's called keyword prominence. So a headline that has the keyword at the beginning of it, like website footer design at the beginning, is going to be a good thing for search. Good things for social are questions. They're leaving a curiosity gap. They're using numbers, indicating it's a list post. So the kinds of things that I do for social, it's very different, but you can combine these things, and I do it a lot. Here's some headlines. I'm just looking at my blog now. Fix your, that one doesn't have a key phrase first. Web content checklist, 21 ways to publish better content. So what you're seeing me do is a search social combo. You're also seeing me use two headlines. The dash, the colon, or the parentheses are ways to double up on your headline, but basically write two headlines. You can take two swings at the same pitch, right?
Mm-hmm.
That person, there's no reason not to. Website footer design, 27 things to put at the bottom of the page. So the number stands out against a row of text. This brings up a good point, though, which is about what is a headline. There are title tags, subject lines, H1s. These are all different types of headlines, and you don't have to use the same headline everywhere. I frequently adapt my headline for the purpose. I mean, I don't really know what a headline is when you think about it. I guess, these are all different types. Is it a header? The top of an infographic, is that a headline? Headlines are all different things.
Right,
so
right.
I don't think of them as headlines as much as what am I writing for the title? And I use a template I could share. The title tag is one thing. The H1 header is one thing. The email subject line is often something entirely different. Email subject lines have nothing to do with search. It's all about social, and it's all about human psychology. So I believe in adapting these things for their purpose. But yeah, a general template is to use the double headline, or a headline with a secondary headline. Keyword first, keyword colon number is my classic formula for headline. You steal it, you're welcome. We're all welcome to it. Take my headline template, keyword colon number. If you look at my blog, just click on my name. There's a bunch of podcasts in there now, which I need to change the design here so that the podcasts don't get mixed in as well. But design versus analytics, 5 little decisions that make big analytics implications. Future-proof your search marketing,
right.
5 tips for the big trends. Website footer design best practices, 27 things to put at the bottom. How about this one? 15 blog images, best practices for adding pictures to every post. There I was getting fancy. The number is at the beginning, and then it says blog images, best practices. I know that Google's going to drop the colon, right? They're not paying attention to punctuation.
Right.
So blog image best practices is actually there as, it's sneaky, right? It's there as one combined bonded phrase.
Right.
I'm a dork.
It's a great strategy that you use. I really like it. So now for when you post, I would say probably most people who are doing blogging themselves at this point are using WordPress. Not everybody, but it's a great do-it-yourself platform to learn. Are you going in the HTML or going into the coding and adding certain tags specifically to highlight titles and headlines, or as long as you use like the H1, H2, you're good and you don't really need to optimize?
Well, we mentioned how I like to use short paragraphs because I really, really want to keep the scan reader on the page. I never want someone to hit a block of text. So we are putting in lots of formatting, and we write a Google Docs, and then Amanda copies and pastes this stuff into WordPress. And she'll do it in a way that makes the code as clean as possible, right into the HTML editor, and manually fixing it up. Now, the value, there's an SEO value, not just to having all places to put tags and not just in using the key phrase, but there's a very human aspect to SEO that people don't understand sometimes. It's the user interaction signal. Now, let's say, Ross, you and I both post articles on the topic of live streaming, and it ranks for a phrase. Visitor searches, they click on my article, and it's like a giant wall of text. There's no formatting, and there's big paragraphs, and they hit the back button after 5 seconds. They scroll down, they see your article, they click, and they get to a beautifully formatted page with headers, subheaders, bullet lists, bolding, italics, internal links, multiple images, and they stay there for 5 minutes and hit the back button.
And even if they're not reading the article word for word, if they spend time perusing the images and the quotes and the, the pull quotes and the tags and all that stuff, then you partially won
and
already.
And the long click is a signal of quality. I got the short click, you got the long click.
Mm-hmm.
Now we want to create that long click. In other words, they call it high dwell time, because that's a user interaction signal that's part of Google's algorithm. So if you can get the visitor to stay on your site for longer, stay on page when they come from search, stay on your page for longer, you've got a ranking advantage. All things being equal, the page with higher dwell time, more longer click, will rank higher than the other page. Now, it doesn't even matter if they scroll down. This is where your audience has a big advantage. Put a video at the top and text at the bottom. That person watches a 4-minute video, and then even if they hit the back button, they just spent 4 minutes on your page. And you got the long click, which sends a positive user interaction signal. So I was talking about formatting, but for this audience, you got video. Video, it doesn't even have to be your video, right? Keep that visitor on that page, add audio, video. And here's where I also am a big advocate for multiple images. You never want there to be a desert of text. Look, if you look at our content, at every scroll depth, no matter how far down you scroll, there's a picture. I want there to be always something to look at, right? It's like the social media examiner strategy. In a desert of text, images are water. You've got to give your readers a sip. Don't let them get to a part of your article that's just this long, blocky desert of text. So multiple images have an indirect, video have an indirect benefit on SEO because they create higher dwell time, the longer click.
I think I try and put an image in for like every 100 words in a blog. Like if I do a 300-word blog, let's say I did 300-word blog post, I have 3 images.
Or every 400 pixels.
Every time you scroll. And of course, again, like I was saying, it depends on the size of your monitor, because on a cell phone, it seems like you could load that thing up with pictures and it's still, oh wow, there's 2 paragraphs there. That's a lot of scrolling on a cell phone. So listen, we're up against the top of the hour. Thank you so much, Andy. The book is Content Chemistry, an illustrated handbook for content marketing. Andy works for orbitmedia.com. He's the co-founder and creative director, and his website has a lot of great information on content marketing, SEO, email marketing, headline writing, blog title writing. What do you have coming up? What should people look for?
We're big advocates for event marketing, and we have a conference coming up in August in Chicago. If anyone is nearby, I saw Darcy Schuler was on this a minute ago. She's a local. August 4th, I have some of my favorite content marketing speakers: Andrew Davis, Robert Rose, Justine Jordan, Jessica Best, Nick Westergaard. We've got some really great content marketing speakers coming to Chicago. It's right in the middle of downtown. It's a full-day content marketing event. And I'm doing it the day before, if anyone really wants to go deep. I'm doing my 4-hour, the one I did at South by Southwest, my 4-hour intensive SEO workshop. It's on August 3rd. Wow. So contentjam.com. If you know anyone who's in the area and they are interested in these topics, feel free to share. But yep, that's the big that's our big thing coming up, and we're very excited about it.
Awesome. I put the link here in the comments. And coming up on Livestream Stars Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, Tyler J. Anderson, the host of Social Media Social Hour podcast, the executive producer of Social Media Day San Diego, and the CEO of Casual Fridays will be joining us. So a lot to talk to Tyler about. Thanks again to Andy Crestodina and everyone for stopping by, and have a great evening, everyone.